सलाम मेरे अजीज पंखों।
He was examining Tae nearly. Tae was underweight and extremely finger, but his beauty was something which was attracting Jungkook. His honey brown big eyes, nose, a pair of fine lips with features were set perfectly on his face. His shiny and even teeth were visible when he was smiling. Beautiful. He muttered to himself. They was unaware what he was doing with Jungkook. Without any intention, but suddenly Tae's smile died. Jungkook, what's wrong? He asked and Tae saw him. You said that fireflies bring message of happiness, right? They tried to confirm and Jungkook nodded. They, they are going back. They muttered. They were not only fireflies for him, but a ray of hope in his tragic inky life. Messages don't stay for long. They come, deliver the message, and go back. And I'm here. You don't have to worry about anything. They suddenly raise his head to see the flash in the dark night. A few moments later, he jumped on his place due to a rumble of thunder. Jungkook laughed, but they were shocked that Jungkook was making his fun. Jungkook, you are afraid of thunder. Such a kid you are. They looked away with disappointment. Yes, he was afraid of thunder. So what? He was only 17. Still very young. Jungkook, what are the other things that make you afraid? Crossing his arm on his chest, he asked in a playful manner, which are opposite to his nature. Jungkook, lizards? When they didn't reply, Jungkook asked, and he looked at him. The eyes and facial expression were already telling about the answer, but they still nodded. Jungkook wanted to laugh, but he controlled himself. Jungkook, darkness? He asked, but they shook his head with confidence. Jungkook, dogs? He raised his brow. No way. I just love dogs. This time they reply happily. What are the other things that make you afraid? Jungkook asked with a smile. His back was rested with the wall. Arms were wrapped around chest and looks were fixed on Tae's face to jump his heart with different speeds. Should I tell you? Jungkook, yes, of course. They, I feel afraid of you when you glare at me, when you draw out your grunt. Jungkook's smile vanished. His face again maintained a rude face as usual, and Jung Taeyong was felt scared. They was cursing himself that why he replied so casually. I I am sorry. I didn't mean that. I am sorry, they muttered with fearful expression on his face and ran downstairs, still cursing himself. Jungkook had to cover a journey from his kidnapper to his protector. Next morning, a smile hit his lips when he felt the softness of the sheet in which he was covering himself and the squishy matters on which he was lying. After sleep the whole 10 hours, they decided to leave his laziness and toss in bed. Turning his side, his heart skipped a beat when he found Jungkook sleeping beside him. They felt his heart would come out at any moment after watching him next to him. They decided to move back, but something made him started. There was a shadow outside their bedroom. Who is there? They tried to ask loudly, but only his lips moved up and down. No voice came out. Only that shadow was not enough that a small thought also made him shocked. His eyes popped up with tears and fear captured him inside out. Unknowledgely, their hand grabbed Jungkook's arm and shook that. Listen, please wake up, they said. They again shook his arm and he opened eyes while asking about the reason for his terrified face. There is someone outside the room, they muttered. Jungkook sat down on the bed and pulled out the gun, which was under his pillow. Stay here, let me check. Jungkook stepped out of the bed, but they held his arm. Carefully, they said. They said, and Jungkook looked at his nails, which were dragging in his flesh of his arm. He slowly removed his hand from his arm before going out of the bedroom. They was shivering, his eyes had already started water wet. Courage, he stepped out from the bedroom with cat step. Theo, come here. Jungkook's voice fell in the air and he moved toward the living room. They, yes? Jungkook, what you have seen? He asked with a smile on his handsome face. There was a shadow and they was stopped in between when watched Jungkook kneeling down on the floor playing with a small dog. Oh God, that was the shadow of this dog. They sighed with relief and smiled happily after watching that small cute dog. How cute! But where does it come from? Jungkook, I bought it for you last night, but you were already asleep. You like dogs, don't you? They smiled with a nod, then shifted his gaze toward the beautiful dog. Have you slept well? He asked, and they again nodded, placed his head on his head of the dog, and started grazing his soft hair. Jungkook, what do you wanna eat? He asked, and they didn't think for a single moment before answering. They, whatever you want, they said without paying any attention to him, but his reply made they started. I'm asking about your wish. What do you wanna eat? He asked, and they looked at his face. They was trying to remember the last time when someone asked about his choice, but unfortunately, he didn't remember anything like that. They listen. He was confused how to call him. Jungkook. Hmm? They. May I cook today? He asked in almost no voice, and Jungkook shook his head. Jungkook, it's very hot today. You will be tired. He replied, but they shook his head. No, I will not, he replied, and Jungkook felt happiness that finally they was considering his home as his home. He smiled with a small nod. Well, it's your home, so you can do whatever you like. If you want to cook, then cook. Just tell me what thing do you need. At night, God, I don't have any place to go. I don't want to go back to those people who sold me. He muttered, and two tears rolling down of his corner of his eyes. They was lost in all the complaints when he jumped on his place due to a third in other room. His heart started beating fast and he looked away toward Jungkook with fearful expression on his face. He gave a exultant look and hurriedly moved to the way toward the room. Jungkook, dude, you create a good amount of disturbance in only one day. You broke such a pretty show piece of mine. Jungkook was coming out of the room, carrying the dog in his left arm and grazing his head with another arm. Jungkook, who was talking to the dog, and the only one question rise in heart, they, why do I look at him when I feel scared? First time ever they felt his prayer was being answered. They shifted his eyes on his hand and smiled at his own self when realized that he was feeling protect and presence of Jungkook. They was not afraid of him but looked toward him for his protection. Only a moment of realization was enough to make his heart up peace. They start recalling his prayer he had made till now. They want to get a small shelter which he could call him home, but Jungkook was giving him big mention. They never accept anyone to give him respect. He only want to live a simple life in which no one will treat him like shit, like Lee's have done doing for years. But Jungkook was giving him respect. They never expect a lavish lifestyle. He just want to get married so that he would get two meals without being a burden. But he looked at his cloth and realized that he had not worn that type of high quality cloth in his whole life. He was prepared to live the rest of his life for the state of a maid in someone's home. But there, Jungkook was giving him the right of being his husband. No one even thought about his likes and dislikes, but Jungkook was doing it. No one even gave him a single bite from his meal. But today, only when he was having lunch, sitting with Jungkook, he was feeding him with his hand. God, he is the answer of my prayers. With tear-filled eyes, he glared at Jungkook. Jungkook was lying on the sofa, placed his right arm under his head, and with another hand, he was carrying the head of the dog who was lying on his stomach. They small steps toward the sofa. They sat down on the floor, resting himself with the sofa, and started grazing the soft hair of that dog. Jungkook glared at him, then again shift his gaze toward the ceiling, but they keep staring at his face. They was already crazy over that, feeling that soft gaze over himself. Jungkook looked at Tae and a sigh smile captured his lips. They looked down, but his simple yet innocent act made his heart skip a beat. He smiled while removing his arm from under his head and lifted his chin with his first finger. He raised his brows along with a unasked caution in his eyes. They felt more shy and again lowered his head. Jungkook was not a navy person who could not understand the meaning of that shy smile on his little husband's lips. Jungkook again placed his right arm under his head and reused the stared at the ceiling. But this time with a smile, both of them thinking about each other. Jungkook lifted his hand and caressed the head of dog, and they was feeling the warmth and soft of his backside down head. They nervously glared at him to find him smiling, but this time they didn't remove his hand. Jungkook let the dog go but didn't leave their hand. Their cheeks were turning into deep pink with every passing moment. They didn't have courage to look at Jungkook's face, but he could feel his gaze at him with a smile. Taeyong, he whispered for the first time their name with was surrounding so pretty for him without leaving his shyness. They looked up, they had his hand.